Back for another special episode of Cold Justice, Justice Served. Over the past 3 years, former prosecutor Kelly Siegler and crime scene investigator Yolanda McCleary have supported local law enforcement and renowned detectives to solve cases that seemed hopeless. Through a lot of hard work, determination, and talent, their work has produced incredible results. Authorities have obtained 25 arrests, 12 indictments, 4 confessions, 4 guilty pleas, and 5 convictions in cases featured on Cold Justice. And we're just getting started. Tonight, we'll be hearing from Kelly, Yolanda, our detectives, and local law enforcement, as well as the victims and their families, to get updates on their cases. We'll also hear the latest from the Cold Justice Sex Crimes team and learn about the most recent crime-fighting technology that has appeared on the scene in the last 9 months. Please stay with me for more Cold Justice, Justice Served. First up, it's my pleasure to welcome the Cold Justice investigative team, Kelly Siegler and Yolanda McCleary. Hi. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Really nice to see you. You just got off the plane. You've been traveling a lot. How's it going?
It's a lot of work, but we're making progress in every single case. If they haven't had charges filed already, a whole lot of them will, and it's all good.
A few months back, you said you were going to take some time to be with your family. Tough to work, spend the family time, focus back in on these really difficult cases?
Actually, it's working out well for me. I'm loving it because I love doing this. Don't want to leave it, but now I get to see those little grandbabies a lot more, so it's great.
We're going to talk about another case where the Cold Justice team was looking for justice when they traveled to Terre Haute, Indiana, to assist local law enforcement in the effort to find out who killed a young woman named Erica Case. So let's take a look back and see where this investigation stands today. On September 5th, 1998, 19-year-old Erica Case was found murdered.
I found her laying on her back, covered up.
2 local boys, Clint Mackey and Isaiah Dooley, both admitted they were with Erica the night she was murdered, but denied any involvement in her death.
She had 33 cuts to her body, absolutely brutal.
Because each boy's testimony implicated the other, and because there were no other witnesses, the case went unsolved. Still, Erica's family demanded justice for Erica. The Vigo County Sheriff's Department reopened the case, and together with the aid of the Cold Justice team, were able to find witnesses that described Clint's history of violence with women, and another that swore Clint admitted to being at the crime scene.
And he went on to describe about how when he came to, he realized he had blood on his hand.
This is new.
Then Clint began to change his story under pressure.
As I'm talking to him, I'm thinking I'm looking directly in the eyes of a killer.
And the team knew they had a case.
Mackey's got a whole entire criminal history. I mean, he's clearly the guy that did this.
I think we're ready.
All right, let's go take everything.
This is the best news that we've gotten in 15 years.
Then on January 21st, 2014, Clinton Mackey confessed.
I walked in the house, I grabbed the knife, I killed her.
July 20th, 2015, as part of a plea deal, Mackey was sentenced to 40 years in prison on a charge of voluntary manslaughter. He also gave up his rights to appeal.
Reminiscing on the past and trying to celebrate her life, and hopefully now we can have some closure.
Right now, I'd like to welcome back homicide investigator and a key member of the Cold Justice team, Steve Spingola. Steve, glad to see you. And the 2 detectives who worked this case, Captain John Motes and Detective Derek Fell. Derek, I'm going to start with you. Tell me about that confession.
When we got the phone call that he was ready to confess, I think I had to pinch myself to wake up because I just didn't feel that it was really happening after all these years, but it felt good when that time came.
How often do creeps like that confess, Steve?
You know, rarely. He was eating breakfast when we knocked on the door, and he almost choked on his Cheerios there when he saw us standing at the front door. You could see, you know, his eyes opened and he knew it was time.
I'd like to welcome Erica's family to us right now. Her sister Mary Case is here, her father Jury Case Sr., and her brother Jury Case. It's It's wonderful that you're here. When you heard that these guys were coming, what did you think?
I had looked into the show before, and then I saw that the local law enforcement should be the one to contact them. So I was getting ready to call, and then John Motes called me and said, "How do you feel about this?"
So a wonderful coincidence.
I was actually thrilled because, we really hadn't given up.
You know, we had went this whole time with no answers, no, true justice, and that someone still cared enough to take up my sister's case and try to solve it. It was a really good feeling.
John, this is a case your department got very close with and close with the family.
Yes, Jerry would come into our office on a weekly basis. He would just stop in to talk. He just wanted to check how we were doing.
Sometimes we didn't talk about her murder. We talked about other things. And that was a release. I mean, sometimes we talk about football. I mean, just anything.
They are part of our family now. I talk to them, we text, we email in a special way.
How did you find out that this guy confessed?
They called me and told me he confessed, and they were going to bring him in.
DA says to you, plea bargain, we can get this, or we go to jury and roll the dice. What did you think?
We had a lot of input. Actually, we met with the prosecutor on multiple occasions, and there were a couple suggestions thrown out there that we turned down, and it was a negotiation that our family was involved with, and thankfully, Kelly helped us to navigate through some of that legal language.
I told them what I've said my whole career. Here's what you got to know. Every family wants the maximum, but you can only get that by going to trial. And as much as you tell yourself that you can stand a trial and you want a trial because you want all the answers and you can take it, you really don't want to do that unless you have to. And the other thing about a trial is that you sit through a trial and you get a little more time than you might in a plea bargain, but then you have all those years of appeals. And you don't need that anymore to quibble over a few years.
Opens the wound
Take
again.
the plea
Just
bargain,
opens the wound.
have your finality, get some peace, and move on with your life.
You're looking back, what do you think about the plea deal?
It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders.
I felt relieved when I found out that he was going to be in prison and he can't get out. He can't appeal.
I was never able to bury my son because it took 27 years to solve that case. You want to have that ending. You want that memorial. And you did it beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll discuss the episode Smoking Gun, one of our many cases that have touched the hearts of local law enforcement and the cold justice team. Stay with us. Welcome back to Cold Justice, Justice Served. The episode Smoking Gun was one of the many cases that touched the hearts of local law enforcement and the cold justice team. Let's take a look back at the investigation. On March 17, 1991, 22-year-old Stacy Dillon was found dead, shot at close range in the face. Devastated by the loss of her only child, and despite the case going cold, Judy remained confident that Stacy's killer would be held accountable.
Whoever done it will pay somewhere.
When the Cleveland Police Department reopened the case, Robert Houston, with whom Stacy had a romantic relationship, quickly emerged as the primary suspect. Unfortunately, the team learned that their key witness had died.
The problem that has come up is that Jeff Brewer is deceased.
During the original investigation, a confidential informant known only as Becky stated she'd had a conversation with Robert on the night of the murder. Because Jeff Brewer was dead, finding Becky became crucial.
I want to put Becky in red because we kind of got to have Becky.
They found witnesses who revealed Stacy wanted to end the relationship. And in retaliation, Robert was blackmailing Stacy, threatening to out him if he did not call off the breakup. When they tried to speak to Robert, he refused to cooperate.
Well, I'll have to speak with my attorney first.
He lawyered up.
Without the ability to interrogate Robert, and without Becky, the team felt they did not yet have enough evidence to arrest Robert.
I used to have a file drawer in my office that I called my Waiting on God drawer. That was where I put cases where I needed something to happen that was out of my control. And that's where this case would go.
It's time to tell Judy the disappointing news.
We don't have enough to proceed with the kind of indictment at this time. Keep working in the case.
Well, there's always a hope. And without a hope, you can't go on.
That's right. Correct.
Please welcome Captain Mark Gibson, who's been working this case for years. After the show aired, some good things happened, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Becky has surfaced.
She actually contacted us and came in.
Yes, she did.
Right. She is a very credible witness. She's a very credible person.
This puts new juice into this case, doesn't it?
We still have a long ways to go as far as Becky and her testimony and what things that she would be able to testify to. They're a very key part of the case. And
well, whoever Becky is, I want to say from the victim's standpoint, I admire her courage to come forward.
Well, I got to tell you, the whole town really stepped up, is saying maybe it could be this Becky, which I really thought was awesome. You know, that they watched this and they thought that much of Judy and Stacy. It was
that they
great.
cared.
Yes.
They cared.
I think that's why this show is so important, because Becky, for example, is coming forward because she was able to see the show. Absolutely.
She's going to do the right thing.
Yeah, we've had several things that happen, and it's kind of taken a turn where we have a lot of information that we can't talk about for good reasons. And we're working with the district attorney's office, and we're hoping that we're able to go forward with it. So,
really?
Oh, my gosh, that's awesome.
Pretty amazing. Let's bring Judy out here, please. Belong to that horrible club that we wish nobody else belonged to. You've never given up, have you?
Never will.
Never will.
When he called me the other day and told me about the mystery Becky, and I felt like I could jump over a 90-foot wall.
The lady I saw in that piece is very different to the lady I'm seeing today. Can you tell me how she's changed?
I see a different person. I see someone that kind of seemed frustrated with life and just kind of beat down. And since then, she's a bubbly personality, just seems to rejuvenated because of this, and just full of life. And that's worth it to me.
Where do you find the strength to keep going after all these years?
Well, I feel like my greatest strength comes from God Almighty. And then I've had lots of support through the years that's helped.
And then she found Mark, and the bond that they have together is amazing.
I want the whole world to know, and he's going to kill me before we get back home. This is my hero.
Well, I hope the next time I see you, we'll be talking about a case that's closed. I hope that some way we can have that memorial, we could have that. It's not really a celebration, is it?
We'll just have a hallelujah dance.
There you go. There you go.
I love your spirit. It's just, it's infectious, isn't it?
Yes,
it is.
Yes, yes.
Now, Judy, you know we're going to continue to follow this case, and our hearts and prayers are with you, and we can't thank you enough for having the courage to come here. God bless.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, in Fairfield Park, Ohio, the Cold Justice team joined local law enforcement to investigate their first case where arson was used in an attempt to cover up a murder. Stay with us. In Fairfield Park, Ohio, the Cold Justice team assisted local law enforcement to investigate a case where arson was used in an attempt to cover up a murder. Let's take a look. On a summer afternoon in 2007, a fire was reported in Fairview Park, Ohio. When the fire department arrived, they found the body of Gwen Bewley.
My mother didn't deserve to die like that.
Investigators quickly determined that Gwen's death and the fire were no accident.
She was dead before the fire of unnatural causes.
So your opinion is somebody put stuff on her and then set
That's
her on
absolutely my opinion.
Gwen's next-door neighbor, Tim Shalene, immediately emerged as a person of interest.
Now, after her death, I mean, he's caught with her things.
Credit cards and a rental car.
Phone records shattered his alibi.
He states that he is in Michigan. Tim's phone is within 1.5 miles of Gwen Bewley's home.
And witnesses testified to his violent nature.
I mean, he told me he was going to kill me and my kids.
If you didn't date him, then he threatened to kill you.
Yeah. But it was new computer technology, unavailable at the time of the murder, that provided the all-important motive.
August 16th is the first time he checks on his computer this account.
He knows that she knows something funky's happening with her credit cards.
And she's onto it.
All right. Lieutenant Paul Shepard presented the new evidence to the county prosecutor, who agreed to take the case.
He summarized it, and the DA was very impressed.
It appears Sue Mazzoni and her relatives are finally getting the closure and justice they've been seeking for more than 7 years.
She just didn't deserve to die like that, and we just want to be able to have peace and move on.
Tim Shalene faces a jury on October 21st, 2015. Tough case. And right now, I'd like to welcome back an old friend and a member of the Cold Case Squad, Detective Alan Brown. I want to start with Yolanda. Why are arson cases so challenging?
Because they destroy everything. They destroy potential evidence. Not only does the fire destroy it, but then you got the fire department that's going to come in. They need to put the fire out, so now they douse it with water, and that's where arsons get very difficult.
You brought in some computer techniques to find out something about the history of her computers.
Eric Devlin, who's a former prosecutor, and he had just bought this brand new technology that wasn't available for Gwen Bewley's case way back then. And when he reprocessed them, man, we hit the jackpot.
It's modern technology caught
That
up with him,
helped.
basically. It's a good thing that the investigators kept the old computers and they didn't give them back or destroy them, because that's where the best evidence came from.
A lot has changed since you retired.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather have somebody's cell phone than DNA. I call it the roadmap to your life. You give me somebody's cell phone, I'll tell you everything about them.
I got to say, you did a hell of a job on that case and got justice for that wonderful woman. Now, working on very tough, cold cases can be mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting. So this group uses humor as a way to keep up morale.
Uh-oh.
Let's take a look.
You want to hear something funny? What? So I was figuring out this case is from 33 years ago. I was graduating high school, and I'm like doing the math because I'm going, 33 years ago, it can't be because I'm only 35.
Chick pulls up next to me in a truck, and she's got this bumper sticker on it says, "I got a big rack." And I'm thinking, you know, most chicks don't talk like that. When she gets out, I stared at her, and she said, "It ain't my boobs." She said she's got a rack in the car.
Oh, I got the heater on. Sorry, guys. Oh, I got my seat warmer on. That's why I'm tired. That's why.
She's like, my ass is on fire. What's up? Getting hot flashes, Yolanda. You're right. They're coming.
I worked a pretty good case where the suspect, he was a plastic surgeon. And guess what all of the girls in his office had? Do I need to
Boobs.
say it? Yes, they did.
Well, you got to advertise somehow.
She has the biggest chi-chis you have ever seen.
Kelly can't get over
I
it.
can't get over it.
When you're talking to her, that's all you can do.
I'm telling you, and her shirt was see-through. You read Pat Conroy? You don't read Pat Conroy and you're from South Carolina?
I don't read much.
Oh, my God.
I like pictures.
What I want to do, run a doggy daycare when I'm done with all this stuff. Dogs love you no matter what I've done. I've come home late, they haven't come at all. Never asked for to use the credit cards or nothing. Just sitting there by that door.
We don't want to leave anybody in the car, you know, like you leave.
Oh, leave the keys there.
I was going to say the pit in the car and they die. We come out here, fight you all dried up. I don't want that on my head.
Leave the keys.
You're going to learn this, young detective. Bitches remember things way better than men.
Don't piss off the winches, all right? I saw Lee, your sister's pictures up there.
The girl right next
Beauty.
to her was my year.
And-
Mary
and-
Jo.
And where's yours?
They didn't pick me.
For the Rice Queen?
Rice Festival Queen candidate.
Did you cheer your sister on?
Yeah. There's no way that bitch should have been in a beauty pageant, but I cheered her on.
Oh, you bad.
I'd like to welcome back Steve Spingola and Abby Abandondolo. Tell me some of the funniest things that's happened to you guys over the years.
Just the last one we did, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and this woman sitting in a lawn chair. And as soon as I lean forward and I start talking to her, I point my finger at her to kind of get a little tough with her. A bird crapped right in the middle of my hand. And I went, oh my God, a bird just crapped on me. And we're like in the middle of nowhere in the woods. Broke my whole mojo right there, man. It was over.
But, John, they've known each other forever.
And we worked together a lot on a lot of high-profile cases. We've managed to keep our senses about us and have a good time, even working through some really tough cases.
Or sometimes you see something that you just go, holy shit. You might laugh about it or whatever, but you do have a different sense of humor.
And every now and then those F-bombs slip out.
Yolanda does that all the time.
But
She's
everybody...
a good
I won't even
cusser.
lie, I do.
everything you do, everywhere you go, somebody records it. And is that in the back of your minds?
And especially now with what's going on in law enforcement across the country.
Yeah.
I think it's affecting the way that these crimes are being solved. People are afraid to go out and do it, which is a sad fact of life.
And now several states have passed laws that the police have to wear a camera. What do you think that's going to do to policing?
I think it's going to improve it. I think it's going to be a better deal for police officers because when you look on TV and you see somebody's cell phone video, you don't have the whole story. You don't have the backdrop story that led up to that. And I think that's what's going to make things better because everybody forms an opinion on a cell phone video that catches a few seconds of an incident that may have been going on for 3 or 4 minutes.
Abby?
Exactly. The entirety of the incident will be captured forever and undisputed.
So it probably is a good thing for law enforcement. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here. When we come back, you'll hear the latest on how the Cold Justice team helped the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigate the mystery of Marie Carlson's disappearance. So stay with us. Welcome back. This is Cold Justice, Justice Served, and I'm John Walsh. The Cold Justice team supported the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office to solve the very mysterious disappearance of Marie Carlson. Let's take a look at this case. On October 17, 2011, Marie Carlson disappeared, leaving her infant daughter, Grace, behind. 2 days later, several people received a bizarre text from Marie's phone, stating that she had left town to pursue a new life. Marie's ex-husband suspected foul play and wanted answers.
The hard part is not knowing exactly what happened.
Because Marie had been living with a local pastor, James Flanders, and his wife, Tonya, police spoke to them first. Soon after, James and Tonya quickly packed up the baby and moved out of state. This year, the Cold Justice team helped Detective Nestle Suey Moore and the Okaloosa Sheriff's Department work the case. They learned that Marie had been having a relationship with Flanders and that James was baby Grace's father. But soon after the baby was born, the trio appeared to sour on the arrangement.
She told you that Marie wanted to raise the baby and they didn't want her involved.
That's good. Another witness testified that James and Marie had a physical altercation on the day she disappeared.
He tells the witness, "We had a fight the last time I saw her."
Most damning of all were the telephone records from James and Marie's cell phones. Pings from cell towers proved that Marie's phone was in the area of Flanders' house when the group text was sent.
Marie's phone never leaves Fort Walton Beach.
It was time for Kelly and Nestle to break the news to Marie's family.
The sad reality, though, is that we have to tell you Marie is never coming home.
We're never going to stop. You know that.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing all this.
On May 14th, 2015, James Flanders was arrested for Marie's murder and is being held on a $1 million bond. The more you get into this case, the sadder it is. I mean, there's a lot of collateral damage, which we're going to talk about. But how did you find out he was arrested? And when he was, what did you think?
The detective from Okaloosa County called me, let me know about it. I was really happy to hear that, not just for the family, but for the detectives who worked the case as well.
When you left town, did you think an arrest was imminent?
Yes, I think the evidence was overwhelming.
Now, he gets arrested and a judge posts a $1 million bond. And I don't think the public really realizes that a $1 million bond is not a $1 million bond. You can put up 10% or 20%. Why this bond? And do you think he'll get out before this trial?
A typical bond where we come from for murder is only $50,000. You come up with $5,000 cash, you're out on bond for murder until you go to trial 2 or 3 years later. The difference here to justify $1 million is that, number one, part of our facts were that he was trying to leave the country off the coast of Florida, and he fled to Arizona the very night the heat got put on him. So being able to prove up flight risk, they did it very well in this case at a hearing, which is why it's a very rare $1 million bond.
It was a good job by that judge, though, and the prosecutor. See, the audience loves that. Let's talk about the cell phone records. They were key.
In this case, because it wasn't very old at all, and Okaloosa County got all those cell phone records, and more importantly, cell tower records, they busted him wide open as to where he really was during the crucial time. And those cell tower records are fantastic.
Now I'd like to welcome Marie's ex-husband, Jeff Carlson. Jeff, thanks for having the guts that you do and being concerned about your ex. her whereabouts. How did you get the word that this guy was arrested?
I received a call from Nestle Moore, one of the tenacious investigators that just never let go of the case. And she let me know that the work that her and Keith Motz had done had led to this with the help of Kelly and the team at Cold Justice. They were able to go out and arrest him in Arizona.
What do you think happened to Marie?
I believe she became a little unenamored with the situation that she was in. I think she expected him to leave his wife and to be with her because she felt like she was in love with this man.
Jeff, who has baby Grace now?
Tonya is a legal guardian right now, based on James making her a legal guardian. James is the biological father, so he has a lot of rights when it comes to that child.
I don't think very many ex-husbands would have been as devoted and persistent as Jeff was, right, Abby?
That's right. It's amazing for a guy to stick in that long and really to be such an asset for us in working this case.
Yes.
It's wonderful that you were the ball that got this whole thing rolling, because Marie might have disappeared and nobody knew about it if it wasn't for you. God bless you. God bless you. I can't thank you enough for coming. God bless you.
Thank you.
When we return, we'll meet with investigators from Cold Justice Sex Crimes. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm John Walsh, and I'm pleased to be here with Casey Garrett and Alicia O'Neill, former Harris County, Texas prosecutors. They're from that wonderful show, Cold Justice Sex Crimes. Great to see you, ladies. Unlike murder, 60% of sex offenders are repeat offenders. And in many cases, the evidence is collected but never tested. There's currently a backlog of thousands of untested rape kits, and that's a really big problem. So let's take a look at the excellent work our investigators are doing to bring justice to sex crimes cases. When Flint, Michigan was hit with the closure of auto plants in the 1980s, it devastated both the economy and the people there. Massive budget cuts decimated the police force, and crime rates spiked dramatically. Because of Flint's financial hardships, hundreds of rape kits have gone untested for years. With the help of Casey and Alicia, local law enforcement is ready to change that, starting with Jessica. An unknown assailant broke into Jessica's home and raped her, while her husband and 8-month-old daughter were forced to watch.
But I remember his eyes. They weren't normal.
Jessica and her father believed that prosecuting the case would encourage other rape victims to come forward.
If it just brings one, that's a plus.
Sergeant Will Surface and Lieutenant Devin Bernritter of the Flint Police Department recently sent Jessica's rape kit to be tested, and they got a hit.
And that suspect's name is Michael Coleman.
When Sergeant Surface confronted Coleman with the DNA evidence, Coleman confessed.
Tell me what happened when you went in.
He's got him. He's totally got him.
It was time to tell Jessica and her dad the good news.
How do you feel?
I'm ecstatic. Yep, I've seen her smiling more than she had in a long time.
Subsequent investigations of rape cases in Flint have led to 5 arrests there, while all the survivors of our investigations expressed how difficult the process was. They knew in their hearts it was critical to get offenders off the street before they hurt others.
I gotta protect other females.
I don't feel so powerless anymore. You changed my life. You changed my life.
They hope that their fight will give other victims the courage to come forward.
I feel like only good can come out of sharing your story, because you never know who's listening.
I really didn't know how strong I was until strong was the only choice I had.
I'd like to welcome some members from local law enforcement from Flint, Will Surface and Devin Bernritter. And they have a very, very brave survivor, Jessica.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Really nice to meet you. And really impressed by your courage and,
Thank you.
and your fantastic attitude to this whole situation. But I want to start with these guys. How big a problem is it across the country? I mean, I know, but I think our audience has no idea how big a problem untested rape kits are.
It is a very large problem that is hitting communities all across the United States. Flint is one of those that discovered that we were in this position, and we received some help with the folks from the program to try and get our feet back under us.
Devin, how's Flint doing now with the rape kits?
Since the television program left, we have been able to submit 31 additional cases with DNA. Of those 31 kits, we've gotten 15 responses where the name associated with the DNA has been returned to us.
So simply by running those kits, you were able to get 15 hits and probably almost close 15 cases. Will, why is it so important for victims of sexual assault to come forward?
This is a horrendous act that has been done to them. I'm forced with the act of coming up to them and saying, please tell me the most horrible day of your life. Tell me in detail over and over again. And that's hard, but that is exactly why the victims need to know we're here for them. They're not alone.
I think that one of the main things is really still a culture of victim blaming in our nation, where sexual assault is really the only crime that can happen to you, where people immediately start thinking of ways you contributed to it.
I mean, we spent a lot of time in the trenches with Will. Let me just tell you, he has such a passion for these cases and for these victims. If there were more sex crimes detectives like Will, then people would feel a lot more comfortable coming forward.
Everybody's so impressed of your courage.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And you're the main reason Michael Coleman is behind bars. How did you find out he got caught?
I got the call from Will, and I was in disbelief at first. And then I found out that he gave a full confession, and I lost it. I didn't think he would make it that easy to put him behind bars.
Why do you think you came forward so strongly?
I was strong because my daughter was there that night. Actually, she was 8 months old when it happened. And I wanted justice for her as well as myself, but it was more for her.
God, you have done something for her, and when she gets old enough and finds out what happened to you, and she's going to have to say, Mom, I'm so proud of you. You were so strong, and you put a horrible guy behind bars that could have gone out and hurt some other people.
If every cop in the country could be like these two guys and every victim could have them helping them through this process, oh my God, how many cases could be solved? Y'all are fantastic.
They are.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the good job. When we come back, we'll learn how recent developments in crime technology are helping bring justice to some of the most difficult cases. You'll be surprised. Welcome back to Cold Justice. I'm John Walsh. Yolanda recently took another trip to Sorensen Forensics, where she met Cammie Green, the DNA analyst who showed her some of the newest technology that they're using today. I think you'll find it fascinating. Take a look. Sorensen Forensics has been the go-to DNA laboratory for cold justice since the very beginning. Yolanda recently took a trip back there. Cammie Green gave her a behind-the-scenes look at a few of the newest, most cutting-edge innovations that have led to incredible results in cold cases, like the Y23 test. In the past, when low levels of male DNA were mixed in with female DNA, it was difficult to separate the two. But the Y23 test renders female DNA invisible, making it easier to detect male DNA. This test was instrumental in the Pocatello, Idaho case.
Because of the sensitivity of this Y23 kit, we were able to hone in on the male DNA that was present, even though we had a whole bunch of her DNA all over that ring.
We got a full male profile.
Damn!
Yes!
All right.
On the ring!
But the most exciting development in DNA technology is only 9 months old. It's called phenotyping, which can create a facial reconstruction from an unknown DNA profile. Dr. Ellen Graytack of Parabon demonstrated this remarkable new tool they call Snapshot for Yolanda and Cammie.
So we're starting from this DNA sample that we know nothing about. It could be anybody. And then we predict that face. What this is showing is basically, here's how this person could have looked. It's not going to be their driver's license photo, but you're looking for someone similar to these predictions.
The Snapshot test was recently used in the cold justice sex crimes case in Clearfield, Utah, to help the team with a serial rape case.
So we like to think that the real value of Snapshot is in excluding people. If someone looks extremely different from this, then they don't match this profile.
Yolanda wanted to see how accurate this technology was for herself, so she had Cammie send Parabon some of her DNA, without telling Parabon whose DNA it was.
So what we asked our forensic artists to do is to take this picture, which came out of our software at age 25, and say, what would this person look like at 49?
Oh, well, you guys are right on. I have a picture that's about 50, 51.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. And
Look at the
the same
jawline.
one.
It's like exact.
I know. This is such a huge investigative tool now.
Yeah, it is.
What did you think about this picture they created?
It was right on.
Pretty amazing.
It was amazing. What she said was right, though. It can exclude. If it says our DNA person has blue eyes, then you're not looking for someone who has brown eyes, and that does help you right there.
You got to tell me, Alicia, explain phenotyping to us.
It's really cool. You know, DNA is the basic building blocks of life, and the information that goes into your DNA determines what you're going to look like. So what Parabon's been able to do is reverse engineer that and tell us from that strand of DNA what that person most likely looks like.
So in one of the cases we worked on, the phenotyping became very important. 10 out of the 11 victims described him one way.
Right.
And it was completely corroborated by this phenotyping.
Fantastic breakthrough, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Technology.
Absolutely.
Well, before we go, I got to thank you for your wonderful work. You've had some fantastic successes. Just keep up the good work. Keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, before we go, we're going to take a look at some of our previous cases and see how they're moving forward in the criminal justice system.
What is your emergency? Yes, my parents are sitting here with blood everywhere.
For every cold case, there is a victim without justice and a killer walking amongst us. Cold Justice Team and local investigators have a united mission to get these killers off the streets, and their exhaustive investigations have paid off. The accused killer of Charlie and Kathy Hayes, Craig Hauser, is set to stand trial for 2 counts of capital murder in October 2015. Kathy Dean's husband, Earl Taylor, was arrested for murder and faces a jury in February 2016. Rupinder Goraya's husband, Kultar, was charged with murder, and his trial is currently in progress. And LeBron Hollingsworth was sentenced to 22 years in prison for the murder of his wife, Vicky Carr Hollingsworth. That's got to make you feel good, doesn't it? That those cases are moving ahead. That's because of you guys. The families love you, and the cops have learned to trust you. But the people who say that, oh, Hollywood showed up in this little town, they're going to solve our case?
Well, they do, and they always will, and it makes me crazy. But if you're the local sheriff or you're the local prosecutor, what I would say is, hey, you call them Hollywood, I call them experts in murder cases. You call them Hollywood, I say they bring to our town resources we could have never had access to, wisdom and experience that we could never have otherwise. You can criticize me all you want to, but I'm telling you, I'm doing everything I can to clear every case I have. And if you want to criticize me, go for it, but I'm doing my job.
I'm on your team. I'm on your side. Good luck. Keep up the damn good work.